Soon after RuneScape's strongest boss launched, a player discovered a glitch that made himself completely invincible. Monsters ignored him, his health and prayer never drained, and he farmed this highly profitable boss 24/7 for months. Then, when he got caught, players accused a Jagex Moderator of helping him. That mod was let go from Jagex soon after. But the real story is much more complicated. How did this glitch work, and who created it? Was a JMod actually involved, or just caught in the crossfire? This is the story of the Corporeal Beast Invincibility Glitch. Our story begins not long after the start of old school RuneScape in 2013, a time when the game was still trying to find its identity. Brought back to life by popular demand, old school RuneScape wasn't just a game, it was a time capsule, an exact copy of RuneScape as it existed in 2007. But from the start, players were divided on what the game's future should look like. One side wanted to preserve the game exactly as it was, while the other saw 2007 RuneScape as a starting point. The 2007 backup used to create old school RuneScape left out a lot of well-loved content. Some of the game's best updates came shortly after it was made. Things like Dragon Claws, the God Wars dungeon, and most importantly for this story, the Corporeal Beast. Many players wanted that content back, not the microtransactions and the evolution of combat, just the good stuff. As you probably know, the 2007 purists lost this battle. However, they got their way for the game's first few months. No updates, no changes, but also no players. So it wasn't long before old school RuneScape began receiving both brand new content and long-missed classics. As updates began entering the game, there was one piece of content that players began to ask about more than the rest: the Corporeal Beast. The Corporeal Beast, or Corp, was originally added to RuneScape in September of 2008. Gaining access to this boss required players to complete the Summer's End quest, a piece of content designed not only to give the beast some lore, but also to act as a gatekeeper. You couldn't just sign up for RuneScape, grind out some levels, and go fight it. You unfortunately had to quest. But players who did gain access to Corp had a great time. It was a mechanically simple boss. Just pray protect from magic, eat when you take damage from his other attacks, and dodge the core. But he was the new strongest monster in the game, so you could get decked pretty fast if you weren't paying attention. It was also basically impossible to solo unless you were wooks, so you'd need a decent-sized team to take him on. But if you did manage to defeat the beast, you had the potential to earn some big money. Corp dropped 4 different sigils, which could be used to create new items called Spirit Shields. The Arcane Spirit Shield was the new best shield for magic attack bonus. The Spectral Spirit Shield was the new best shield for magic defense. The Elysian Spirit Shield had a high melee defense bonus and a 70% chance to reduce any damage received by 25%. And the Holy Grail of Spirit Shields, the Divine Spirit Shield, had the same melee defense bonus as the Elysian, and a 100% chance of reducing the damage you receive by 30%. However, your prayer points would be drained for 50% of any damage that was negated. If the Elysian was a Ferrari, the Divine was one that could drive itself, if you had enough prayer potions to keep it fueled. But even an item that legendary doesn't compare to the confidence boost you get from smelling great. When I have a fragrance on that I like, I feel like the best version of myself, even if I'm just grinding fletching. That's why I love today's sponsor, Scentbird. They sent over a few fragrances that I've been trying out. First is Creme Imperiale by Navitus Parfums. To me, this one just smells fresh and clean with its notes of iris, Sicilian lemon, and velvet jasmine accord. I can't quite perfectly describe the scent, but I'm a fan. Second is The One for Men by Dolce&Gabbana. The name is pretty self-explanatory, but if you're a fan of amber, tobacco, and ginger notes, I think you'll really like this one too. It is genuinely one of my new favorite smells, and I would have never discovered it without Scentbird. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service that allows you to try new designer fragrances each month. They have a diverse selection of over 900 plus fragrances from both popular and niche brands. And their quiz will help you find what you like by offering personalized suggestions based on your preferences. You'll get a 30-day supply of each fragrance you pick, and they even come in this convenient and easy to carry packaging. If you're interested in trying Scentbird, scan the QR code or use the link below. And with my coupon code Colonello, you'll get 55% off at Scentbird. Plus, you'll get free delivery to your door and a free case. You get the product for half of the price at just $8, and that's a steal. Aside from the sigils and a few other drops, Corp's overall loot wasn't great, but that was kind of the point. You and a few buddies would get together on a Friday night, go chill and kill some Corp, and hope you win the sigil lottery. It was a great boss, and you can probably see why old school players wanted it back. The team wanted to be able to offer it to players, but there was a slight problem. They just didn't have the resources to bring Corp back. The team was so small that they didn't have an artist yet. Content like God War's Dungeon was easy to bring back because it was mostly finished in the backup copy of RuneScape they used to make old school. Corp likely wasn't even an idea when this backup was made, and with fewer devs than your average Corp team, recreating it would basically be impossible. So all they could do was wait and hope to get an artist. Luckily for everybody, in 2014, Mod Alfred would join the team as a junior artist. Pretty much immediately after getting hired, he would start work on trying to bring Corp back. He soon discovered that it was possible to import RuneScape 3's Corporeal Beast model into the same software they used to make 3D models for old school. Unfortunately, it wasn't as simple as just importing the model and it would magically work. It would actually import without colors, labels, animations, and rigging. So Alfred spent most of his time the next few weeks fixing it up. After Alfred finished up the rest of the models they'd need, Mod Reach got to work recreating the cave as accurately as possible. Then Mod Reach and Mod Ash worked together to actually program the boss into the game. This was actually the easiest part, as it was possible to backport the code used for Corp in RuneScape 3. Then, after a few weeks, Alfred and Reach would show off the team's hard work on stream, and the chat went crazy. They were more than ready for Corp to return to the game. Jagex would spend a few months gathering feedback before pulling the Corporeal Beast on September 18th, 2014. They also wanted to release every Spirit Shield with the same stats and perks they had in 2008, but with a catch. They knew the Divine was extremely powerful, and the community was pretty divided on if it should come to old school. So they pulled the Arcane, Elysian, and Spectral together, and the Divine separately. They would also add an additional question asking players if the Divine passes, should they nerf it? In the end, Corp passed with flying colors, while both questions related to the Divine failed. And in the then closest poll question in RuneScape history, the Arcane, Elysian, and Spectral just barely passed. Unlike the original version of Corp from 2008, Jagex decided not to give it any backstory. The quest would take way too long to recreate and would need major changes. So they just decided to skip the part that most people would spacebar through and tossed Corp's cave onto the map east of this graveyard. There would be no requirements to enter and fight the beast. You could get there by just running up to the cave or teleport directly to it by using a games necklace. Now with everything in place, Corp was ready and would be released on October 16th, 2014. Although launch day was a little rocky, most of the issues players had were easy fixes. However, there was a massive problem lurking in the shadows. Every so often in RuneScape, a major bug is discovered, one that allows players to do things that are so out of the ordinary, the results of it forever become part of the game's history. Things like the party hat duplication glitch and Falador massacre, absolutely iconic moments. And soon, old school RuneScape would have one of its own. In December of 2014, a video was uploaded to YouTube titled Corp Glitcher on OSRS, Cody PVM Exposed. In this video, you can see a player named Cody PVM attacking the Corporeal Beast without it attacking back. The beast just walks around the room taking damage, acting like Cody isn't even there. When the player filming this video enters the lair, the beast immediately notices him and starts attacking, all all while Cody continues to attack with no problem. Nobody in the video seems to know what's going on, and the comments are full of players who are just as confused. Nobody knew it yet, but the glitch Cody was abusing is known as a NIFL, or non-interface fake log. Essentially, Cody had tricked the game into thinking he was logged out when he wasn't. This meant monsters wouldn't attack him, his health would stay full, and when using prayers, his prayer points wouldn't drain. Now, this video actually kind of slipped under the radar. It only has a few thousand views, and if anyone from Jagex saw it, it seems that they didn't give Cody a harsh punishment. Players reported that they still saw Cody in-game and unbanned on multiple occasions months after this video. But that might be because Cody isn't actually the main character in this story. It's possible that he discovered the NIFL completely on accident, used it once, had no idea how to recreate it, and went back to being a normal player. The complete opposite of what another player named Drug Rug Joe would do. Joe was attending a Corporeal Beast mass when he saw another player equip a Granite Maul and use its special attack. Joe thought, hey, that's a good idea, and went to his bank to go grab one. During the group's next kill, Joe noticed he wasn't doing enough damage to get the drop, so he decided to log out to prevent his super combat potion from draining. If you log out right before your potion's about to drain, you can actually reset its timer. But no matter how many times he pressed the log out button, his character didn't actually log out. During the next kill, he noticed that he wasn't being attacked and his prayer wasn't being drained. Joe had accidentally discovered the same NIFL that Cody did, and it was really all too simple. All it took to do this glitch was to catch the attention of a monster and attempt to log out while having a Granite Maul in your inventory before the monster could hit you. That sounds kind of ridiculous, maybe even too good to be true, but I'll explain how a bug this insane came to be in just a minute. Joe and his friends would spend the next few days repeating this glitch at the Corporeal Beast, but did so in a way that would lessen their chances of being caught. Rather than killing Corp in the public cave where anyone could walk in and see them, they would do it in a private instance, a private version of the Corporeal Beast layer that you pay 200,000 GP to enter. That feature wasn't available on release, but it came pretty soon after. They would very quickly receive multiple sigils doing this glitch, all while the general player base had no idea. But Joe wanted to take things even further. He would contact an old friend who used to make bot scripts back in the day and asked him to make a Corporeal Beast script that Joe and his buddies could use to automate this whole process. Joe could load up multiple accounts running this script and potentially make hundreds of millions of GP every day. But of course, there was a slight problem. Jagex had recently added a combat level 90 requirement to enter Corp's cave. If you didn't have 90 combat, you couldn't go in. It was added because there was a ton of low-level looters attempting to steal gear from Corp killers who died. And the more people in the cave, the more Corp can heal when he uses his healing ability. So Joe would somehow need to get his hands on multiple accounts with at least 90 combat. Luckily for him, and unfortunately for everyone else, Corp wasn't the only place he could take advantage of the NIFL. Joe and his buddies would soon discover that they could use it to gain XP faster than any legitimate player. This is Pest Control, a minigame where players work together to defend the Void Knight in the middle of the island, while destroying the 4 enemy portals located around the map. If all 4 portals are destroyed and the Void Knight survives, the team wins. If the Void Knight dies before the team can do that though, the game ends and the team loses. Regardless of the outcome, when the game ends, everyone is teleported off the island, except for players who had the NIFL glitch activated. When the knight died, Joe's group would remain on the island and could attack one of the portals pretty much indefinitely. The portal would regenerate in health faster than they could kill it and would provide them with some incredible combat XP. Now, normally after being logged into RuneScape for 6 hours, it forces you offline, but because the game thought they were logged out, this timer didn't apply to them. They could AFK here as long as they wanted. Like, they could genuinely start this process and leave their computer for 3 days and still be going when they came back. The only time they would be forced offline was whenever the servers would be taken offline once a week to do game updates. But when this happened, they noticed something strange. Let's say you gain 5 woodcutting levels while playing RuneScape, and go check your stats on the high scores. You'll notice that those 5 levels don't show up yet. Your stats on the high scores will only be updated once you log out of the game. When Joe's accounts were forced offline for the weekly game update, their stats didn't update on the high scores. Remember, the game thought that they were logged out this whole time, so they decided to try something. After the next weekly update, they would log back in and immediately go to the duel arena, an area where you could once bet items and GP against another player, fight to the death, and the winner would take both bets. Opponents who looked up Joe and his friend's stats would think, oh, they're level 60 strength, when they were actually level 95. This technique would almost guarantee that Joe's group members would win the duel with whoever they fought against. Now, of course, if their opponent just looked at their combat level, they'd see something was fishy. But a lot of them overlooked that and lost quite a bit of GP. It was also possible to use the NIFL glitch to make yourself invincible here, but that attracted far more attention, so they would just stick to the sneakier method. Joe and his friends had it all. While they were having fun at the duel arena, their army of accounts were botting Corp in the background. Joe soon found himself running 28 accounts at a time and generating hundreds of millions of GP worth of sigils every day. But of course, it all had to come to an end eventually. Joe woke up one morning and saw that the glitch had been fixed and most of his accounts had been banned. Now, getting caught using this glitch was actually incredibly hard. Because the game thought players using it were offline, so did all of Jagex's tools. Jagex moderators couldn't just teleport to one of these players using the glitch because the game would say that they're offline. So how did Joe actually get caught? Well, a few other bug abusers had discovered how to do this glitch not long after Joe, but nobody seemed to be doing it on the same scale. Joe believes that another bug abuser named YB reported him to Jagex out of jealousy and ultimately got the bug patched and all of Joe's accounts banned. But more on that in a bit. If things weren't interesting enough, here's where they get really crazy. When this glitch was patched in early April of 2015, Jagex didn't make any sort of announcement about it. The general player base had no idea that billions of gold worth of items had entered the game illegitimately over the last few months. So Joe contacted a YouTuber named Return of Wilderness and did a tell-all. This video quickly exploded in the RuneScape community, and players were outraged that Jagex had said nothing about this glitch. Mod Reach would soon take to the forums to respond to some of the outrage. He claimed that Jagex had never even realized players were using the NIFL glitch at Corp. YB hadn't reported Joe at all. The bug was only patched because Jagex noticed players were abusing it at Pest Control. I suppose it's not known how they discovered players were abusing it at Pest Control, but if someone had reported Joe, they would have known what he was up to at the Corporeal Beast. But then, the day after Mod Reach's forum reply, he was let go from Jagex. The news post explaining why said this: "Today, Mod Reach was dismissed from employment at Jagex following an investigation into serious misuse of moderator privileges. This was flagged to us by system checks, which track and log code changes made to the live game. We were able to intercept the intended changes before anything could impact the game economy." Now, it seems most players just skipped that last sentence, as the community was convinced Reach was let go from Jagex because he caused the Corporeal Beast glitch. They started gathering evidence and soon found that YB, the bug abuser Joe thought reported him, was actually a ranked member of Reach's clan chat. They also found a picture where YB was abusing the NIFL in Pest Control and had a private message from Mod Reach, likely sent right before YB activated the glitch and to everyone else disappeared offline. And of course, despite how silly this is, I can't tell this story without mentioning that Reach had also purchased an Elysian Blue Audi A4 soon before he was let go, earning him the nickname Mod Audi. This all sounds pretty bad, but something to keep in mind is that before Reach joined the old school team, he was the bug abuse lead curator for RuneScape. It wasn't uncommon for staff members who held this role to befriend bug abusers. It was much easier to patch exploits they found this way. If Jagex banned every player the moment they found a bug, they'd be cutting off their best source of information. To provide further evidence that Reach didn't cause the glitch, Mod Matt K would also take to Reddit to say that Reach was not involved in the glitch, but didn't reveal the true reason for his termination. A few years later, Matt would allege on the OSRS podcast channel that Reach's termination was due to real-world trading, but said it was for good reasons. However, that entire story has never been corroborated. Reach's termination just seemed to be very unfortunate timing, and the rumors that he was behind the glitch would continue for years to come. But if Reach didn't cause the glitch, then who did? And how does a glitch like this even happen? Well, it turns out it was all caused by Mod Ash. The Granite Maul has always been a strangely coded item. When I asked him about it, Mod Ash said that whoever designed its special attack seemed just set out to write something problematic, and that leads to consequences. It had an issue where its special attack would sometimes pick the wrong NPC or player, or sometimes pick one that was through a wall. So in February of 2014, he set out to try and fix this. Without going too far into the technical weeds, this change fixed the problems I just described, but a new one appeared. The code he introduced to fix the issues with the Granite Maul could be stalled, preventing logout, and thus the Corporeal Beast Invincibility Glitch was born. We'll never know how many illegitimate sigils entered the game before this glitch was patched, or how many people were abusing it, but I have to imagine at its peak, more illegitimate sigils were entering the game than fairly obtained ones. Joe estimated that he killed over 80,000 beasts before being caught, and although he never revealed an exact figure before vanishing, he easily made tens of thousands of dollars in the process. If you like this video, check out the one on the right about the dumbest mistake in RuneScape history, where Jagex accidentally spawned in millions of archer rings and gave them all to one player, who, let's just say, didn't keep any of them for himself.